mil on that new thing. Tied up like my shoestring. Ain't fucking with you, bitch niggas.
Hey jelly friends, it's your girl Jahr, and I'm back. So this week, our topic's gonna be life. And I know that's very vague because life can be a number of things. Um, Today will just be your girl Jahr because, people have lives and the rest of the gang kind of has some stuff to do. So every once in a while, you're just gonna get me, and there's nothing wrong with that. I've decided also that the podcast drops are only going to be on Fridays as just to kind of end your week so you have something to listen to. So, to start off our conversation about life, how do I get through life? I am currently 19 years old and freshly out of my first year of university. And let me tell you, university is wild. You meet so many people, you make so many friends, and I put that in quotations because not everybody is going to be your friend, but that's something we'll get to along the line of this conversation. But yeah, and I just kind of learned a lot of things about myself and about the people around me. And just to elaborate on that, it's like I'm not someone that likes to make new friends. I find making new friends very annoying because I'm like, why make friends when I can be by myself? That's the very antisocial person in me coming out, obviously. And so I'm just someone that likes to stay in my room, kind of hang out by myself, not cause any issues. But then again, my personality is so, and this isn't tooting my own horn, but my personality is so just bright and out there and welcoming that people want to talk to me and people want to get to know me. And it just kind of makes being antisocial really difficult because people want to hang out with me, but I don't necessarily want to hang out with people. But because I'm very anti-confrontational, I will be like, oh yeah, let's hang out, even though I really don't want to. And for all my friends listening that are like, oh, so she doesn't want to hang out with us, it's like, no, that's not how it is. It's just, I'm, I tell you guys this all the time if you are my friend. I'm like, but my bed is calling me. Like, that's my favorite line. My bed is calling me. And they'll be like, Jar, just get up and let's go. And I'm like, ugh, fine. And that's just the cycle of my life, forcing myself to get out of my room and, just enjoy being 19 and enjoy life. So that's like a major thing about life. You just got to learn to live in the moment. And sometimes I struggle with that. I'm not saying I'm perfect when it comes to like being life positive and, knowing my truth. But I know that it's hard. It's really, really hard not to like want to be like, it's really hard not to be in your head about life because I'm always thinking about how I'm going to make it to the next day. How am I going to make tomorrow more productive? How am I going to do this tomorrow? How am I going to do that tomorrow? But I'm never thinking about today. What is my goal today? And that's what's important. What is your goal for today? And if you're listening to this is pre-recorded. So because I am going on a trip to Osago, which is whoop whoop, really fun, with some friends of mine, which is outgoing. See, I'm leaving my room. I promise. And yeah, so like, if you're listening to this now, it's like, I'm thinking about today. I'm like, what do I need to do today to be productive? How do I make today as productive as possible? And what I do is I make a little to-do list. And the to-do list isn't necessarily to say, "Oh, this has to be done today." It's to give myself guidelines on what is to be done today. So, let's say I have to clean my room, do some laundry, make sure I clean up my bathroom, um I don't know, a whole bunch of lists of regular chores that some people do. But it's a lot. Like, looking at the whole list, it's like, holy cow, that's a lot of shit I gotta do. So, breaking it down on a to-do list and saying, this is Monday's to-do list, do as much as you can, even if you get like two of those things on your list done, at least you got something done. And that's what you have to look at. You have to look at the positives of what you're doing. Because if you always look at, oh, I didn't get the whole list done, you're always going to be in a bad mood and you're always going to be down and you're never going to know what success feels like because you always think you're failing. So that's important. Um and I'm not saying I don't feel like I don't think that way. Like, I have many times been like, "Oh, great, I didn't get this done. Oh, great, I didn't get that done." And it just kind of puts a toll on your psyche because you're always telling yourself you're not good enough when you can only do the best that you can do, nothing more. Well, you can do more, but you can push yourself to do more, but you can't exceed your capabilities. And you can only do what you know. So, my day-to-day struggle is just kind of waking up every day and telling myself I'm going to do something productive, even if it's one thing. And there might be people around you that are like, "Oh, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Oh, how come this wasn't finished? How come this wasn't finished?" And most of the time it's our parents. They're always telling us that, "Why didn't we get this done? Why didn't you get that done? Why isn't this there? Why isn't that there?" And it just kind of makes you feel like you're not accomplishing anything because all it can find is the things that you haven't done, even though you've done so much. Like, I know that's my struggle because I'll do things for my mom and I will get like maybe 3 things done out of 10. And I'll be like, "Woo, I really did that. I worked super hard on those 3 things. I got those 3 things done. What's next on my list?" But by the time I'm done those 3 things, it's like the day has escaped me. And I'm like, "Okay, at least I got this done." But at the end of that day, when you when your parent comes home and they're like, "Oh, why is this out of place? Oh, why haven't you done this?" And they don't notice the like major things that you did accomplish that day. And when you tell them what you accomplished, they're like, "Oh, you could have still done this. You could have still done that." And it just kind of makes you feel not enough. And that I find that the worst feeling in the world because feeling like you're not enough can unmotivate you to do a lot of things. Like, I know sometimes when I feel like I'm not enough, I don't even want to like face the next day because I'm like, well, anything I do tomorrow isn't going to be enough for the people surrounding me, so why get up? Why even push yourself? But you can't think like that because you're not doing it for them, you're doing it for yourself. You know what you're doing, you know what you've done, you know what you're accomplishing. And if the people around you can't see that, it means they don't deserve to be in your circle. And I'm not saying be disrespectful to your parents. I'm not telling you to disregard what your parents tell you. I'm just telling you that sometimes your parents don't know what you're going through. And that's where you need to talk to them. And if they're not listeners, that's when you just kind of have to accept that they're never or they won't hear your side. And you just got to do what you have to do. And I find that really important because the minute you accept that they're not going to change is the minute you kind of feel a weight off your shoulders because you don't have that burden of trying burden of trying to explain yourself to them. And I know that when I try to explain myself to my mother over and over and over again, I do not get across to her. And even if I do get across to her, it's like she hears it, picks what she wants to talk about, and says, "No, this isn't true. That," and I'm like, "You're missing the point. It's not this, this, and this. It's the whole picture of how you're contributing to whatever issue we're discussing or whatever problem I'm having." So I find that parents don't open the floor to conversation properly sometimes, and especially Caribbean parents, because they're very old timeish, and no disrespect, but they're very old timeish. So the rule is what your parents says goes. There's no ands, ifs, or buts about it. What your parents says goes, and if you say anything else, it's instant disrespect, instant being rude, no talking back, all of that. And it just leaves you at a crossroad of not knowing, do I speak up for myself or do I just be quiet and not do anything? And most of your parents say be quiet and just listen to what I have to say to you because I'm your parent. But sometimes our parents don't know everything. And that's natural because you can't know everything. Times are changing. Some kids know more than their parents. And that's because they're learning from their parents, and on top of learning things from their day and age and learning how society's evolving. But yeah, that's just one of the major things that I kind of think about. And I find that with being in university, well, I'm not going back to university. I found that university wasn't for me because I was learning the same things that I was learning in high school, but I didn't want to be learning like the same things. So I told myself I'm going to drop out of high school and I'm going to go to college. But then Doug Ford came around. Don't even get me started on him. Doug Ford came around and messed up all of OSAP. So I can't afford school, unfortunately, because I'm I'm not a full-time working, person, so I'm not making all this bank to be paying for school. And people are like, "Oh, take out a student loan." Hey, I know for some people it's okay to take out a loan that they won't have to worry about for a while, but at the same time, I'm someone that worries all the time. So if I take out a loan, I'm going to be like, "Oh my gosh, I have a loan that is like racking up debt. I can't do this," and I'm just going to be stressing about that loan. I don't want that. I want to be able to say that I paid off school in full by myself. And sometimes that's not feasible, but it's a goal. I want to at least pay some of it by myself, pay it off, and feel confident. Even if I have a little bit of debt, at least I know I put in the effort to like contribute to my success. Like, my success is determined by not how well I do something, but how much of it I accomplish and if I reach my goal or not. And that's just really important to me because I can't determine my success by the trivial things in life when there's so much bigger that I could be focusing on. And like, I consider right now my success getting these podcasts out. Like, every time I get a podcast out on some sort of schedule, I feel a level of success because I did that. I motivated myself to get myself out there and pursue my dreams. This isn't necessarily it, but it's one step closer. I'm making content. I'm doing something that I love to do. But like, back to the university topic. I have stories about university, and for all my first years that are going back to school at the end of this month, Congrats on graduating from high school. Um, I know you realize they lied. High school is not the best years of your life. University probably will be, because that's where you kind of get to learn who you are the most. But for me, some tips about university is like hit the ground running and don't stop. Because the minute you start to say, oh, I'm doing well, I can like maybe take a break here and there, that's when you start to kind of slip up. And that's where your issues with commitment and scheduling kind of start to get really bad. But first semester is going to feel like a breeze because it's like, okay, I got this. There's all these resources. Like, man, I'm doing it. I'm motivated. You're excited because it's your first semester of first year of university. You're doing HOCO. You're doing, or college. You're doing like your first week, your frosh week, all of that stuff. Um, and you kind of have that pumping of adrenaline for that whole first like 4 months that you're there. But then when second semester rolls in, you kind of start to get the crash of it all. Like you start losing excitement because nothing really happens second semester that boost your adrenaline. Like you may have a few events here and there, but it's like nothing like how HOCO pumped you, and nothing like how moving in pumped you, and all these like big events that just kept your motivation going. You kind of lose that in second semester, and that's where like depression starts to kick in of realizing that you like miss home, or like you the stress gets to you, and that's where those mental health resources are really going to come in handy. I recommend that you guys speak to your academic advisors often. They will help you. They're there for you. And I know people are like, "Oh, but they say that all the time." I'm serious. Like they will be there for you. And that's the important part, because you feel alone sometimes, especially if you go to school without any friends. Because that's what I did. I moved out by myself, no friends, and it was my first year at Laurier, and I was on a floor with a whole bunch of like white girls and like maybe four ethnic girls, and I was out of like 25 girls. And I'm like, wow, this is fun. I feel so lonely. And I kind of made some friends. Like I made a friend named Tori. I made a friend named Fatima, and many more. If I don't name your name, it's because I'm on the spot and I suck at remembering people names in general. Like if I had like pictures, I'd be like, oh, da 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 da, I'd rattle them off. But that's besides the point. But you make some pretty good friendships. Like I say friends very vaguely, because I'm not a friend. To me is someone that I can rely on all the time. So I like, okay, best friend is someone that like I rely on all the time. A friend is somebody that I just rely on a bit here and there. And I need to be more open to making friends. I know that. I like to I'm reluctant to make friends because yuck, people. But I love people at the same time. I love being a humanitarian. Just I love being for the people, because if I'm not doing it, like I rather be doing something for someone else than being self-centered and self like oriented too much. Like it's good to be about self, but like not in the point where it's almost narcissistic. Um but yeah, one of my favorite stories about university is when we like we would go to parties and stuff. And oh, also another thing, parties, those can get pretty wild. Be safe. Make sure you know like consent. For the men out there, consent is very important. Females as well. Consent is very important. If the person you are with, male or female, male, whatever, non-binary, all the whole list of them, make sure you have consent. Make sure you hear you have consent. I know it's kind of awkward. I know like asking permission can be kind of awkward if you're in an intimate setting, but it can be kind of adorable. Like it can be very adorable because it's like you actually genuinely care about this person's feelings and permission and all that. Like for me, I met this person in university, and I'm someone that's really, really big on consent. And I met this person, and were they were like absolutely amazing. And I just found them radiating like absolute like inner and outer beauty. And they were like a super chill person. And I ended up like becoming slightly close with this person. And when I went to kiss the person, I said, "Can I kiss you?" And it was kind of awkward because, it was like you don't really like sometimes you don't really ask someone to kiss them, but you kind of get the signs, but sometimes body signs aren't accurate, but like I felt like I was getting like vibes that we could kiss, but like at the same time I didn't want to mistaken it. So I was like, "Can I kiss you?" And they laughed and they're like, "Of course." And I was like it was just kind of a cute moment um when it happened. But yeah, that's another thing. Just make sure you have consent. Make sure you consent is key, kids. Be safe. Wrap it before you tap it, or cover it before you go in for our non penetrated sex friends. Oh my gosh, I'm so horrible. I'm so weird. But yeah. But one of my favorite stories about university is how cruel some people can be. Holy smokes, some people can be super cruel. Because I lived in a dorm um for first year, and we had some girls on the floor that was very inconsiderate, like very. And they would literally come home on maybe a Thursday night, Friday night, after partying all night and be loud as hell, like screaming down the halls, yelling, playing music. And I'm just like, wow, some of us actually want to kind of get like a Friday night sleep. Like it's 3 in the bloody morning, calm down, like at least have some consideration. It'd be different if it was 12 o'clock and you're coming in, you're loud. Because honestly, if it's 12 o'clock and you're in bed and you're in university, you're fraud. You should not be asleep on a Friday night at 12 o'clock. You should be out doing something, at least maybe like up reading, doing anything, but you should not be asleep. But yeah, they were very like obnoxious. Is that even, am I even saying that right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Obviously, I'm probably wrong because it doesn't sound right. But they were just so inconsiderate. And one night, I just kind of finally got fed up because they were banging on people's doors now. It wasn't even like they were just being loud. Now they were just being absolutely rude and banging on doors. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Come on, you gotta be kidding me. Are you really banging on people's doors at this time of the night? Like, no, that's just plain rude. It was one thing to be loud, it's another to deliberately try to disturb another person's sleep. So then my sassy ass that apparently hates confrontation but really went in for it. Well, maybe it's because I was very upset, but I went in and I said, "Dear floor mates, could you please be quiet?" Blah da 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 da. And I just went off. And I was like, maybe if you learn some consideration, blah da da da, our floor could get along, or something like that, along those lines. And then they're just like, then they replied, texting back in our floor group chat, "Sucks to suck. It's Friday night. Some of us actually want to live." And I'm like, okay, it's one thing to live, it's another thing to be disrespectful. And just be considerate, guys. Be really considerate about the people that are around you, because in the real world, people are not as forgiving. And if you fuck up with the wrong person, you're gonna get shit. Like, you're actually gonna cause yourself to have issues. And it's a hard world out there. It's a tough place. Mommy and daddy aren't gonna be able to fix everything for you. It's just reality. But yeah, another tip for university is eat. Oh my gosh, eat. Don't order out. Forget Uber Eats. Delete that app before you even go to university. Just don't do it. Don't do it. You'll be broke before you know it. Just don't do it. Don't download Uber Eats. Don't download Skip the Dishes. Don't do it. Don't torture your bank account like that. Just eat the dining hall food. But at the same time, dining hall food is absolutely disgusting. Buy groceries, kids. Do some groceries. Learn how to do groceries before you leave. Learn how to price match. That shit could save your life. I know I used to price match all the time because price matching, mwah, absolutely amazing. Like I saved maybe, I don't know, I would say $20 every time I went grocery shopping because I was like price match, price match, price match. And then on top of it, because I price matched, I was able to get more food with the money I saved. So, guys, I'm telling you, learn how to grocery shop before you leave. It'll be a lifesaver. Um, what else? What else can I tell you guys about life? Um, Maybe dating life. So, I am currently single. I'm a single person. Um, Jahr, why are you telling the whole entire internet? Cause I can. Leave me alone. Um, but yeah, I'm a single human being, and I pride myself on my self-love. Like I love who I am and what I've accomplished in life because all it is a product of just being resilient and fighting through the tough times. Because every time I look in the mirror and I see my cheeks and I see my nose and I see my lips and I see my body and I just look at myself and I'm like, you are human. And that's all people can ask you to be. And everyone that asks you to be more is just not realistic and they're lost themselves because what more can someone be than human? And I love the way that I can smile without caring about my gap between my teeth. And I love that I don't really care that I have like my two front teeth are like rabbit teeth because my teeth, like I have the gap, so my teeth keep growing and, science. But I love the way that I'm chunky in some areas and slim in others. More like slim in my wrist. I'm just not slim anywhere. But that's okay. But like, I just love the fact that I can look in the mirror and be proud of who I am. And that was a journey for me. Because when I was younger, I used to hate myself. I used to think I was fat. And if you guys have ever seen a picture of me in middle school or knew me in middle school, I was very slim. I was very slim. But because of how I was treated in elementary school when I was fat, I didn't see that I was losing weight when I was in middle school because my mom had put me in swimming, so I started to lose weight. And at the time I couldn't do cartwheels, so like people made fun of me and I used to like I would do a cartwheel and then like when the direction I was trying to go in, the arm that was like underneath me would like cripple and I would flop and you just hear a big smack sound. And that was very painful and humiliating for a while because every girl could do a cartwheel and I just couldn't. But that didn't stop me. Like I would go swimming and my mom put me in swimming lessons and I started to lose weight. And I started to lose weight. I was starting to be able to do a cartwheel. I was getting better. I just kept pushing and I kept going and I kept going. I kept doing what I had to do. And I eventually did a cartwheel. And the day I did a cartwheel was absolutely liberating. I was like, I did it, mom, I did a cartwheel, I did a cartwheel. And I brought her outside and I said, Mom, look, 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 look. And I ran outside and I went into our backyard where there's like this grassy area. And I went and I did a cartwheel. And she's like, oh my gosh, you did a cartwheel. And we were just so excited because I was struggling with a cartwheel for so long, just a simple cartwheel. And I always found gymnastics absolutely amazing, but I couldn't even do a simple cartwheel. So who said I could do gymnastics, you know? But I could do a bridge perfectly fine. But then as I started to lose weight, I didn't know I was losing weight because as a child, really acknowledge the changes of your body like that. You just feel, your subconscious makes you feel how you think the world sees you. And I just thought I was always fat, but like I was just getting healthier. And so in middle school, I still thought I was this fat, chubby girl, but I was really slim. And that's where you get like those disorders, because you think you're one way, but you're really another. But aside from that, I thought I was still very thick, and it just made me upset because I was like, I will never be beautiful because I'm a fat, chubby girl. I was thick, this and that. And I hated myself. And then I went to high school in grade 9. I still felt like I was a little chubby, and I was kind of like, I was like, fresh start, new friends. And I, I accepted that for myself, and I was happy. And I I was happy in a way, but I still wasn't comfortable in my body. I was still very upset with who I was. And comments were always being made by family members. Oh, you're getting big. Oh, look at you. You're so big. Da, 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 da. And it just kind of like kept weighing on me and weighing on me and weighing on me, to the point where like I felt like nothing, I was like, like I started to feel like I wasn't um ever going to feel beautiful in my skin. And I also hated my skin color, as you heard in the last podcast. Like, I always envied my lighter skinned sister, and unfortunately that was a stage in my life where I envied her, but I don't anymore. Not that I don't care for her. I mean, like, I just don't envy her skin color like that. I I'm in love with the color I am. I One of my favorite things about me is my skin color and my ability to just glow on my own, you know? And in high school, like, I felt like I never fit in. And that'll be another topic. I'll talk about high school in at another podcast. Maybe I'll do like a short story time podcast next week. Depends on my schedule. But you'll definitely have a podcast for the Friday of next week. Um, but yeah, it's like, I in high school, like, I didn't love my body, and then because of a condition that I didn't know I had at the time. I started gaining weight, and I was so confused because I wasn't eating breakfast, I wasn't eating lunch, and I would only eat dinner so my mom wouldn't question anything. And sometimes even then I would like skip dinner, but like secretly, because I'd be like, "Oh, I ate," when really I didn't. But I was so confused because I was doing sports. I was like one of the fastest girls in grade 9. And like I started gaining weight in like grade 11, because at the time I had a boyfriend, and like I kind of like just I started gaining weight around that time. And I was just so confused because I was like, why am I gaining all this weight? I'm not even eating. And in grade 12, like, I just, like, my weight skyrocketed. Like, it went phew, and like I wasn't fitting in any of my clothes. Everything just felt wrong. I was just like, oh, I'm back at it again. I'm back being obese and fat, and all this negativity I was throwing at myself. I'd look at myself in the mirror and be like, oh, you disgust me. Like, how could you look like this? Nobody's gonna want you looking like this. Even though I had a boyfriend at the time, I still hated my body. I was so uncomfortable. I was like, no one loves you, yada, yada, yada. All this horrible things. And it didn't take till I went to university for me to find myself beautiful, because I took a moment to self reflect, and I was watching like my 300-pound life, and I was like, that's different. You aren't at that stage, and you're not heading to that stage. You're not morbidly obese. You're healthy. You're pretty healthy. And in university, I started to notice some things about my health that weren't adding up. And I was like, I need to see a doctor. I need to see a doctor. I was always saying I need to see a doctor, but I never went. Until I finally moved back home from first year. I finally saw a doctor. And in another episode, I'll talk about what the condition is that I found, because content, baby, content. You gotta stick to one story. But I went to my doctor and I found out I had this condition that like amplifies weight gain and like reduces your possibility of weight loss. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. So this whole time that I've been working out, putting in effort, trying to lose weight, it was futile because I had this condition that was like stopping my body from processing and burning like energy properly. So once I found that out, I was like, oh my gosh, like I understand now. It's not me. Well, it is me, but it wasn't like I was doing things that was keeping my weight on, but at the same time, I was doing things to counter that. And I was trying to put an effort into my health and I was trying to be active. But in that moment, I was like, wow, it's not only me that is the issue. It's like I also had underlying issues that was making it more difficult. And now that I know about this issue, I can fix this issue and start putting like the work that I put in will actually start to make a difference. And for me right now, it's like I'm okay with the way I look. I just want to, lose weight in a few areas so that way I can kind of fit back into the clothes I used to love, the clothes that like I was always sporting around and having a good time in, you know? So that's where I kind of like was going with life and how things just slowly started to go and fit into place as life moves forward. Like I have no idea what's in store for me. To be completely honest with you, I have no idea. I couldn't tell you what what life is going to throw my way. But what I do know is I'm a face it head on and I'm going to make sure that whatever I do and whoever's in my life at in that moment and like whoever's there by my side, we're going to get through it together. And we're going to show the world that nothing can stop us. Not even like the worst thing we can imagine can stop us. Not even death, because once you leave this earth, you still left behind a lot of amazing things, as little as you think they are. They changed someone's life. Your existence changed someone's life. And that's what's important. Because I know my existence changed my mother's life, changed some of my best friend's life. It changed my dad's life. It changed my brother's life. It changed the people I've come across his life, even just slightly. Because if I wasn't in their story, if I had never existed, a whole chain of events would not be what they are today. Because removing one variable changes the results of whatever this person, this web was connected to. And that's just the way it is. I hope today you find someone that is close to you or isn't close to you, but you take a moment and you hug them, you let them know they're important, and you show them that no matter your differences, no matter what you guys may come across, no matter what arguments, any of that, all of that, you are loved and you belong in this world just as the rest of us. Because at the end of the day, you were put on this earth for a reason. Whether you believe in a God or not, whether you see that there's a higher power out there or not, you belong right where you are. And only you can determine where you go from there. Yes, there's outside variables pushing you one way, pushing you the other way. But at the end of the day, you control how you react to these situations and you control which path you continue on. If you continue down a bad path, bad things will follow. If you try to continue down a good path, bad things can still follow, but at least you're on a good path, a path that will have benefits eventually. You will eventually get the fruits of your labor. And that's what's important. I know I went on a full ass tangent today and I just kind of spilled out a few things, but I just wanted to maybe lift someone's day, make a change, even if only like 2 people listen to this. At least I've reached 2 people. And at least 2 people have thought about how amazing they are and how special they are. I may not know you. I probably do know you if you're listening to it because you're probably someone close to me. But I just want you to know that it's only temporary. The things you go through are only temporary. The only permanent thing in your life, it's not even, there really isn't anything permanent. Because you're always changing. There's always something about you that's changing, whether it be a layer of skin, whether it be the way you speak, whether it be how you wake up the next morning or how you feel, or just you're always changing, and you need to always be continuously learning. Just imagine a day where you know everything's okay, because eventually everything will be okay. It may feel like the world is crashing down on you, but trust me, there's a reason to smile in everything. And I know some people say, but what about the people suffering across seas and all of this and all of that? There's something for them to smile for, whether they lost family members or that's not something to smile for, but I mean, like, the grief that they're feeling, they can be grateful for life. They can say, at least I have my life. And even though it may be not the best life, they still have it. And that is still something to feel joyful about and not feel guilty. Because I know, like, some people say survivor's guilt, it burdens a lot of people that are victims of war-torn countries um, and all of that. And, like, anyone that's been through some sort of trauma where mass numbers were killed, mass numbers of people were killed, survivor's guilt is a real thing. And you just wonder, like, how could why was I the one that survived? And you just have to know that yes, you survived, but don't let your you surviving go in vain. Like, do something with your life. Remember that. Always do something. Don't live life to just live it. Live life to experience and motivate and do and make a difference in the world, because if you don't, you're just living. You're not even living. You're just existing. And that's not a way of life. Um I know sometimes I've had survivor guilt, and that's because when I was younger, I had an epileptic attack that nearly killed me. Um, I was choking in my sleep, and I almost died, and luckily my mom had come into my room that night and did CPR and saved my life. But sometimes I have survivor's guilt because I'm like, for example, like recently, I'm 19 and Cameron Boyce just passed away at the age of 20, and all I can think about is I had epilepsy, as he did. He had epilepsy, and I used to have epilepsy, and I'm one of the few epileptic people that have grown out of it, which is very lucky and very rare for people to do, because like the brain just fixed itself, it like rewired itself instead, and like fixed the communication paths. And for some people, that never happens. And unfortunately for Cameron Boyce, it didn't happen, and he succumbed to his illnesses. And for me, I survived my first major epileptic attack and lived to see 19. And I want, like, sometimes I wonder, like, wow, what am I really doing with my life? Because look at Cameron Boyce. He was doing all these things. He was had a foundation. He was like acting. He was acting and doing all these things. And what am I doing? with my life that I'm still blessed with while his was taken away. And I know it's not a good way to think, but at the same time I'm like, I'm it motivates me to do better because look what Cameron Boyce did with 20 years. Well, not necessarily 20 years because, counting infant years, but look what he did with his life. Look what he did and look what he accomplished. And he made a difference in the world to some people. And I want to do that. I want to make a difference for people with the life I was so blessed to have. So on that note, um, podcast, this is all the time I have for today. I appreciate you guys just listening and, taking the time out of your day just to feel loved. Because I love you. Whoever you are out there, I love you. You're important. I probably sound like a real influencer now. Yeah, I love you. I love all my followers. Yeah, but no, I genuinely love whoever you are on the other side listening because you made it to another day. I love that you were able to even listen to this podcast, even make time out of your day to listen to some positivity. And I'm not saying I'm always positive, but I try to be. I really do. And that's the best you can do, and just live your life the way you want to live it. I know this podcast is kind of long. You probably want to skip through it and listen to some bits here and there, but that's good enough. At least you listened to some of it. At least you heard some of the messages that are in this right now. So, once again, all right, guys, that's all the time I have for today. I'll see you next time, Jelly Friends.
Real niggas.